Think we are getting our streaming started. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. I am in much more of a casual mode than I typically am for these because it's Saturday. This is a day that I do not usually work, but I wanted to use today. And as I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to use today a little bit differently than I initially planned on using today. I want to go in a little bit of a different direction than I initially planned on today being. Today, I'm calling our bonus systems day because systems, you probably felt like when we were talking about sustainable systems, that was probably a little bit of a fire hose day. We did go over a lot of stuff in a relatively short period of time. And what I want to do today is I want to dive a little bit more deeply into systems. I want to talk about the systems that I feel like, especially the four main systems that I feel like every business, service provider, coach, solopreneur, every business like that needs, and give you a little bit of an idea of how to build them. How I kind of think of today is it's going to be a little bit of a part show and tell, part build with me, so that you can start to see a little bit more about the potential for the ease, the automation that you can create when you have strong systems in your business. What I'm super excited about with this today, and we don't really have like a slide deck today. Again, it's going to be a lot of show and tell, a lot of me like sharing my screen. But what I'm really excited about today is I actually on Thursday did a podcast interview with a very, very established, very long running business coach. And we both were super excited because we both are like systems nerds. Systems are one of our favorite parts of our work, the biggest things that we think so many people need. And I had the opportunity in that call to ask her what she feels like the biggest systems every entrepreneur needs. And I almost feel like I'm giving you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into that podcast episode, which is going to be coming out probably in mid-May. But we were very much aligned in terms of the types of systems that every business needs to have. And that is what I'm really excited for us to build together today, or for me to share with you today. So the systems that we came up with, and I totally agree with her in these systems, are the day-to-day ops systems. And we're going to talk a little bit what these systems look like. This is probably the one part of this that varies the most from business to business, is what day-to-day ops includes. And I'm going to share a little bit with you about what some of my day-to-day ops systems are. So day-to-day ops, finances, a CRM that is tied into emails and autoresponders, and automation for social media. Those are the four systems that non-negotiably every business owner needs to have. And actually, for automation with social media, I actually feel like it's social media in general is kind of the bucket, and the automation is going to come secondary. But what I want to go ahead and show you today is I want to share my screen with you. You guys are going to get a really, really big look into my behind the scenes Notion systems. I'm going to share my screen with you all today, and I want to do a little bit of a build with me, and also sharing some of my systems. So this is going to be very kind of off the cuff. We'll see where we're going to go as we work through this together today, but I'm really, really excited to share this with you because I think this is really where you start to see how all of the magic comes together. So I'm going to share my Notion screen. We're going to start with some of my day-to-day ops. And I am actually, because there's a couple automations and whatnot that I have yet to build that I want to build, that I'm going to be showing you today. So we're going to get probably not necessarily a starter. We're not going to necessarily start from scratch for everything we're going to be doing today, but I'm going to be showing you a lot of behind the scenes, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit about the how to use Zapier, which I think is going to be really, really awesome. So here is, and I've showed you this a little bit before, here is the main page of my Notion Second Brain. And as I've mentioned before, my second brain is something that I use for literally every part of my life. It is not just for my business. See, I have a home hub, I have personal growth, I have my business, but I also have other things like travel planners. I also am realizing I need to re-download this picture so it doesn't have a white background, but that's neither here nor there. So this is home base for me. And so let's start to look at some of the ops that I have for my business. And again, some of these are going to have personal information in them for my clients, for my just me in general, and I'm not going to necessarily be going into them. So, you can actually see I have an entire section down here that is an operations section. And I'll show you the ones that I go to the most that are the things that I think are really, really important for a lot of business owners to have. So, probably the ones in here that I use the most. And actually, I just realized I have a duplicate page for this. So here's one thing that I have for my business operations. I am a part of a number of affiliate programs and I have referral links. And I have links for those. So let me go ahead and I'm going to consolidate all of this down now that I realize I have two pages. And we're just going to have one. I'm going to actually just rename this as a referral slash affiliate links. Sorry, I just noticed that. And because I'm the kind of person that I have kind of a 2 minute rule when it comes to doing stuff in terms of the tech in my business. If it takes me 2 minutes or less, I'm just going to do it. But here's some of the things that I have for the ops side of my business. So I have my business profile, which that actually includes things like I use a third-party service that I use to gather email and to not email, to gather paper mail and to either shred it if it's unimportant, which let's face it, 90% of it is, or to scan it in and send it to me. They are also serve as like the main address for my business. So I have stuff like that inside of my business profile. I also have a lot of things that are kind of just like databases for things that I want to hang on to, but I don't necessarily access every single day, like my business branding. Let's actually take a look inside of here. So I also have this inside of Canva, but my business branding, and actually I need to go back in and update my logos because my logos have changed since I originally put this page together. But my business branding includes all of like my core business colors, and the hex codes for those core business colors, and also kind of like a mood board for my business. It also includes my typography, which I do not have in here. I store that more in Canva because I do the majority of my digital assets for my business inside of Canva. And then it also has my logo. So if for whatever reason I need to download those, if I need quick access to a hex code, I don't need to go to Canva. I've got it here. And I will admit, I use this one so much, my green, that I actually have that hex code memorized. So that's one thing I have from a business branding perspective. Another thing that I built over the years that I actually find to be incredibly, incredibly helpful is I have a database that represents my core tools and teaching. So the core things that I use and that I teach in my business. This is probably something else that needs to be updated. And actually, as we're doing this is going to be a really great exercise for me because it's been a while since I've gone through some of these ops. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up my quick capture page and you guys can kind of see the capture part of the second brain in action. So one thing that I do when I think of things that I need to do is I will pull up my quick capture page and I jot it down as a task. So for example, I'm realizing I need to update my core tools and teachings. And you can see I did something, I added the page, which means that I mentioned the page inside of Notion. And that makes it so that when I open this task up, when I go to do this task, I can just click right here and it takes me right to the page that I'm wanting to update, which is a really, really convenient part of Notion. Okay, so I have a core tools and teachings. This is a great database in terms of the things that I use the most in my business. And it is probably out of date, but you can also see that it has a status for things that I just learned, things that I'm researching and testing, things that I actively use. So that's kind of what that core tools and teachings database represents. Some other stuff that I have in here is I have a copy bank. So eventually, when I want to outsource my copywriting and stuff like that, or even social media creation to a VA or to an assistant, I have this database that I can give to them. And what this kind of database contains is I have a testimonial database, which you can kind of see that right here. I have my different brand messaging style guide, which this is kind of the core values of my brand, what my elevator pitch is, my biography, my kind of story for my brand. I took a program. Oh, and this one's actually something I love. The things that are very, very Ellen in terms of my copy, I keep down here. And I have things that I do use, things that I kind of like how they sound, and also things that I absolutely do not use when it comes to my copy. So I have all of that housed here. And again, that's just a really, really thing that I think is going to be very, very helpful and accessible in the future. And I just kind of update it periodically. I haven't started with this yet, but I do have a page where I'm planning on putting SOPs. This is something that I have not started, but again, just like I mentioned for the copy, it is going to be really, really helpful when I get to the point where I do hire a team.
The other thing that I really, really like, and this has been a very, very helpful thing when it comes to clients, is all of my client portals are built out in Notion. So I have a client resource library that I use, which is all of the kind of different little worksheets, different activities. And some of them are, where are my, there we go. So some of them are apps that I've used over the day. Some of them are resources that I've created. Some of them are resources that came from certifications that I've done. So that's kind of what all of these guys are. And actually, the majority of these guys are apps. But it's a really, really nice thing when it comes to my clients so that my clients can access this database without necessarily always having to go through me. Let me actually, what I'm going to go ahead and do, I want to show you my client CRMs, but for the sake of privacy, I don't want to obviously show you who my clients are. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually go in and create kind of a blank page inside of my client CRM so that you can see it. And I'm later in this, I'm going to show you how to build a client CRM in Notion because it's actually very, very easy. And actually, this is almost getting into the client part of things. I just totally closed my Notion and I did not mean to do that. I'm actually kind of getting into the client CRM part of this. So maybe let's hold off on me showing you my client CRMs for now, but I do plan on showing you that. And I do plan on walking you through how to build some of those things. Let's actually keep going with day-to-day ops. So apologies if I teased that, but I want to try to stay organized as much as humanly possible. So let's keep going with the ops side of things in my business. Okay, so I've got for tools, I've also got hubs where I can access all of my different products. I've got we're going to look at clients and client portals in just a second, but I also have a product hub, which I use this to brainstorm products as well as to actually like keep myself organized in terms of the different products that I offer. So for example, I have a membership community called my Burnout-Proof Members Club. And this is a place where I kind of organize all of the different resources inside of that members club. So I have a hub for my Notion All Access course, which is a hub that it's not accessible to clients right now because I'm building it out. I have a Notion block reference page, which if you are in one of my Notion courses, you get access to this to help you learn and understand what the different blocks are and what they do inside of Notion. I have ideas for my courses, so ideas for bonuses. And actually, I completely forgot I had this. So this is really helpful because I've been looking for ways to integrate Notion into my members club more because so many people come to me for Notion support. So we're going to add that to my quick capture as well, is to go through at bonuses and see about Notion ideas. Okay. So basically, I use this as a place to brain dump for all of my different types of products. And it is so, so helpful to have that because then again, I'm not wrangling sticky notes, I'm not wrangling pieces of paper. I have it all here. So like digital courses and products, I have some of these digital courses are active already, but some of them I'm currently building, like Sustainable Systems School. So this is all a brainstorm of what that course might look like. Notion System School. This is all a brainstorm for what this course might look like with ideas and links in. So I use it to plan as well as to do the day-to-day operations. But probably the biggest thing that is a really, really helpful thing that I've been doing for my day-to-day operations is I mentioned before my CEO schedule. And how I have this in here, I'm actually going to start calling this my CEO schedule in here. How I have this organized inside of Notion is I have a database that has the schedule kind of roughly laid out. This is kind of the master of my CEO schedule and my ideal week. And I update this when I'm realizing that there need to be changes to my CEO schedule. But why am I showing you this right now? I'm showing you this right now because I realized that if I'm going to have the CEO schedule that I want to adhere to, I'm realizing I need to, have something that references this CEO schedule and that really keeps me accountable and on track to actually adhering to this as my schedule. Because as we all know, when you have a lot of shit going on as an entrepreneur, it's really, really easy to get sidetracked and distracted by other things. So that is where I actually just started doing. This is something I haven't even integrated into my Notion digital planner yet. But I just started doing something inside of my systems, which I feel like has been a really, really fantastic thing for my day-to-day operations in my business. I implemented what are called daily planners. And this is a database in and of itself. Everything inside of Notion is organized inside of databases. It's basically like multiple Excel spreadsheets living inside one place where you can access multiple different types of things. That's kind of how Notion works. But the cool thing about this day planner is I can set up each of these day planners to be according to whatever my focus is for that day. So like my theme for Mondays is planning and learning. So how I have my Monday set up is to do my power hour. So the power hour stays the same every single day. But then what I have is I have it linked to my weekly planning and review because, as you know, every week I do a weekly review inside of my Notion system. So I kind of reflect on the last week, what worked, what didn't work. And then I use the same place to plan the next week that's coming up. So it's all kind of built in to my Monday planner to make sure I get my weekly review done, to make sure I plan the upcoming week. And then since this is a planning and learning day, I have it set up so that it then pulls in the different courses that I'm working through. So here is all the different courses that I have access to. I have them prioritized by which ones are the most important for me to be working on right now. And then that ends up being my focus on Mondays. So you can see my day planners are themed to what I need and what my focus is on that particular day. So like Tuesday, I'm going to try to avoid scrolling on this one because Tuesdays are clients and client calls. So I have my power hour and then it switches into client work and calls. And I have all of my active one-on-one clients that are on this page. So I'm not going to scroll down and show you that. Then on Wednesday is content day for me. So Wednesday is the day where I work on content creation. I record podcasts, I write. So once again, I've got my power hour. And then down here, I have my deep work content and projects. So down here is all of my active projects. And then my content creation database, I have linked separately because I have a whole database for that. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So you can see each of these days are themed. Thursday is another client day. This actually should not say this. This should say clients and projects once again. And then Friday is kind of a tie up loose ends day. So I don't really have a theme on Friday. Growth is perhaps the only theme on Friday because I do try to do my review on Friday. It doesn't always happen on Friday, but I try to. And then I just let myself wrap up whatever needs to be wrapped up on Friday. Okay, so that is another thing that has been incredibly, incredibly helpful with keeping me aligned with what I want my business activities to be on various different days of the week. But let's take a look at the other different types of ops that a lot of systems need. And as we do this, I'm going to start showing you how to build some of these, and I'm going to start showing you how to create automations for some of these, because there are some automations that I want to set up that I haven't set up. And actually, before I forget what those automations are, I'm going to jot them down. So I'm going to show you how to set up an automation for lead gen and capture from a stand store, which is a really, really popular method of like driving traffic from social media accounts, is to use a stand store. It's kind of like a link in bio, but it's like a more advanced link in bio. I'm going to show you how to set up. Sorry, I had a speaking engagement yesterday, so my voice is a little raspy today. I'm going to show you how to set up an automation from a stand store lead generation to your Notion CRM. So we are going to build a Notion CRM, at least kind of a rough one, to help us do that. So that's one of the automations that I want to set up. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up an automation from like a Squarespace website, which is the website I use, but you can use it from any website, a Squarespace website form that maybe you're using to onboard clients or to do an application form for a service into your CRM as well. I'm also going to show you a little bit of behind the scenes of finance capture into a finance tracker inside of Notion. So that's kind of where we're going. So let's go ahead and go down here. I'm going to actually create a new page down here. And what I'll go ahead and do after this is I'm going to share this page inside of the subscriber hub. So if you want access to this page, just head on over to the subscriber hub. So we're going to call this kind of our example biz systems. We'll just say that for now. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I'm going to keep this very, very loose, very, very basic. We'll build out the kind of main dashboard page a little bit later. But again, what I'm trying to do right here is I'm trying to give you a behind the scenes of how you build these systems in Notions, how easy it can be to create these systems if you have none of these systems. And this is something that you can customize later, but it gives you a good starting point for where to go. And even if you're not a Notion user, it might give you a little bit of an idea of how you can do your own systems. So let's go ahead and let's start with every business is going to need, well, actually, let's start with, I'm just going to make a page. This is actually what I would consider to be best practice in Notion, is to create a page for your databases, to create a page where you're just going to keep track of all of your different databases that you have in Notion. And so now what I'm going to go ahead here is I'm going to make all the databases that I need. So I would say just about every single person is going to need a task database, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create, I did / new page, which is how I got this page here. And then down here are the different styles of pages you can create. You can create a to-do list, you can create a weekly plan, a journal, a table, a board, a list, etc. I usually recommend doing tables for tasks. And if for whatever reason you do the wrong thing, you end up creating a page that isn't the style that you think is going to work for you, you can change it later. Don't worry about that. But let's say this is our task database. And on a very, very basic level, what every task is going to need, and I'm going to delete this property because we don't need it. You're going to need to name the task. You're going to need a way to check off whether or not that task is complete. So to do that, we're going to use the checkbox. And I usually just label this done ? And I like to put this in front and shrink it down so that we can only see the question or the checkbox. It's usually pretty easy to determine, oh yeah, I just need to check it off. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do the date. And you can either have this be a DO due date or a DUE due date, like when it has to be done versus when you're going to do it. I usually, especially because I feel like a lot of us are probably entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, that kind of thing here. I usually do a DO date because there's very little that is DUE due. I usually do a when I'm actually going to do it. That's usually how I operate this. So that right there, you have a very, very basic tasks database. And to make it easy to visually see what each database is, I do recommend putting some sort of icon on it so that you can see, okay, this is a task database without even necessarily needing to read the title. So tasks is one thing you're definitely going to want and you're definitely going to need. Most of us are also going to need a notes database. So let's do / page. And for notes, what I usually do is I like to do the list version. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and select list. I always delete the pages that are there because we just don't need them. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete the tags property inside of here. And I'm going to create one new property that is a way, and this is the beauty of Notion, you can sync your different databases together. So for example, let me actually show you what this looks like inside of my Notion systems. When I'm writing a note, and actually we could just do this inside of Quick Capture. When I'm writing a note, that note could just be a place for me to brain dump things. It could be. But the vast majority of time when I'm writing a note, that note's going to have tasks and to-dos that are associated with it. And what you can go ahead and do is you can click, you can create a layout where you have your note content. And then below that note content, you can have a place to actually put in tasks that are associated with that note. So if I were to put a task here, we'll say default task 2, default task 3. These tasks are now explicitly associated with this note. Like when I click into them, oh, I guess I should give my note a name. Hold on. Oh, it's called new note. When I click into them and I expand the properties, you can see that the related notes, it says new note. And that is one of the wonderful things about Notion is the ability to sync systems together. If you have a task that's associated with a particular client or a task that's associated with a particular project, you can associate those things together inside of Notion. And we do that by using what is called a relation property. It basically allows you to relate different databases to each other so you can sync them up like that. I'm going to delete this because this is a nothing note. And let's go back over here and I'm going to show you how to do that. So when we add a property to, when we add a relation property to our notes database, we're just going to go down here, click where it says relation. It's the little arrow guy. And then what you want to do is you want to select the database that you want to relate it to. Now, I have 80 bajillion databases because I do a lot of templates and then I have my own system. But this is the database I want. And I know that because it says it's in our example biz systems. So we're going to relate it to that. And then what you want to do, I highly recommend doing this, toggle over the show on tasks. What this does is it makes it so that that relationship goes both ways. So the related notes will show up on your task and the related tasks will show up on your note. So usually when you set up a relation, you want it to go two ways. So that's why we want to toggle this guy on. And we're just going to say, we're going to relate this to, we're going to actually call this, notes. I will call it related notes. And then you click add relation. So now this is what this allows us to do. is then we can create templates. So as I've said, templatizing is one of the big ways in which we can cut down on our bandwidth, save ourselves time when it comes to our systems. And one of the big ways I templatize is I create templated views inside of Notion. So actually, when we were just looking at, let's see, when we were just looking at the day planner before, oh, this view is messed up. When we were looking at the day planner before inside of here, and I showed you like that I had a view for Monday, I had a view for Tuesday, I had a view for Wednesday. Those are in Notion what are called templates. And they're basically your ability to create a custom view for different types of entries into your database. So I have a custom view for every other day of the week in my day planner inside of Notion. And you can do the same thing with notes. So we're going to go in here. It's this little down arrow next to the new button right here. We're going to click new template. And then what I usually call this is notes with tasks. And Notion's very intuitive in that they have a lot of icons that are very, very much exactly what we want. So I want an icon that shows that I have a check mark list of items. That's what I want here. So then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to build what we want the note to look like each time we apply this template. And what I want this note to look like is I want it to have space at the top where I can actually write out my notes. And then I want it to have a place at the bottom that lists the associated tasks. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to write related tasks. I'm going to put a little divider. And I know I do this fast, but I'm just trying to give you a picture of what this can look like. We're going to do related tasks, and then you're going to do what's called linked view of database. That's why I build our databases on a specific database page, because every other time those databases get pulled up, it is just a linked view. It's basically pulling the information from one part of your Notion systems into this view. But it's not like the database in and of itself. Like I could delete this without any consequence. That's what a linked view of a database is it allows you to make changes, to view things differently, and to delete it without any impact on your main database. The main database is kind of like the original document. The linked views of database are like copies of the original document. Okay, so we're going to go linked view of database, and then we're going to go tasks. And we're going to click this guy again. And now this is a linked view of our tasks database. But what we want to go ahead and do is we want to filter this tasks database by the note that it is related to. And this is a really important thing to do. In Notion, you want to do this inside of the template so that you don't have to redo this step every single time you use this template. So we're going to go ahead and go related notes, and then you're going to click whatever the title is for the template that you're creating. So in this case, notes with tasks. And there we go. So now whenever I apply this template, whenever I like click on it, or there's two ways you can apply it. You can either literally click on it out of the template list, or you can click new note. And let's say we'll just call this today. Whenever you click on new note, then you can go in and you can click the template here and it applies the exact template that we just created inside of here. And so then when I add, you'll actually see when I add tasks inside of here, task 1, task 2, you can see that those tasks appear up here as well. That is what we're doing. We are linking these tasks directly back to this note, which is what's really, really cool about this system. I do recommend that if you're going to do stuff this way, hide this. You can go property visibility and say always hide, because the more tasks you add, the more like cluttered that top part can be. So I highly recommend hiding them. All right, and let me go ahead. I'm going to delete all of this stuff so that when I create this template for you guys, it's exactly how we want it. All right, so that is how you would set up a notes database and link it back to your tasks database. So this is we're still kind of in ops right now. We're still kind of in the basics here. But what we're going to start to go into now, let's do one more database that is still kind of ops related. Let's do projects database, because inevitably, no matter what business you're in, you're going to have projects, right? So let's do one more database. We'll do /page once again. And here, I usually like to set up my projects as a gallery view. You can kind of see this is a gallery view. It's just like these little like tiles almost that are showing you the name of the document. So let's do a gallery view. And we're going to do a new gallery. And then I literally don't even know what some of these are. Anyways, sorry. let's do, so let's call this projects and give it an icon that kind of seems to imply project. So like, for example, the one I actually use fairly often when it comes to projects is I use a clipboard. Okay, and then we're going to delete these guys. And I am going to, just because I'm OCD, I'm going to change the card preview to none, and that'll make it look like this, where it's just a little tile. That's unnecessary. A lot of the visuals about this are unnecessary. But now what we want to do is we want to link our projects to our notes and to our tasks database, because ideally, this is what you want to have. Let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up my projects database. This is what you want to have when you open up like a project. Mine are kind of advanced, but you kind of want to have a note section and a tasks section so that you can have any tasks that are associated with the project and any notes that are associated with the project. So I'm going to teach you how to build this right now. And how you're going to do that, once again, is we are going to go to, I'm going to delete the tags property. You don't need to do that. I just really, really like to make sure that I don't have any properties I don't need. So what we are going to go ahead and do, I'm actually going to create all of the properties from the template view. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say new project. And what I usually do is I like to add the icon to the actual template. I think that is a good way to go to make sure that everything gets the template. You don't have to reapply the icon every single time. So let's go ahead and start with how I have mine is I have a little thing called a call out at the top. And it's just this like little defined square. And I usually do a default background, so it gives it that outline. And what I like to do when it comes to projects is I like to give myself a little bit of a space to say kind of the project summary. Like, what is this project that I'm working on? Then what we're going to do is we're going to link to those two other databases. And how we're going to do that, to get that side-by-side view, we're going to do /2col, because that tells us we want to create two columns, and it's going to evenly space those columns. I'm actually going to make this full screen so that we can see it. Then what we're going to go ahead and do here is we are going to do tasks. I'll put a little divider. And then over here, we're going to do notes and put a little divider. The little divider you can easily get by just doing the dash on your keyboard 1, 2, 3 times, and it makes a divider. Okay, so we've got notes, we've got tasks. Now all we have to do is we have to create those linked databases. But before we do, let's create those relation properties so we truly are linking these databases together, and it's only pulling in the notes for this project and the tasks for this project. So we're going to go add property once again. We're going to add a relation property. We are going to add the tasks database right here. Toggle show on tasks so that we can see what project a task is associated with. And then we're going to do the same thing for our notes. And I do recommend, did I just delete this property? Where'd it go? Okay, I did. I accidentally deleted it. My bad. I meant to hide its visibility. And then we're going to do the same thing for our notes database. So we're going to go relation. We're going to type in notes right here. We're going to toggle this over, type project, click add relation, and then I'll put a little note icon. Sweet. And we're going to hide both of these because, again, as you start associating things with this, you want the ability to hide that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do our linked view of database once again. We are going to add our tasks database here. And we are going to add our notes database. Is this it? Yes, our notes database here. Now you can see these are really, really cramped together, but what we can do is if we hover our cursor over here, you get the ability to expand these. Just drag it as far out as you want. It shouldn't need to be dragged too far out. And there we go. Now we can see things with a little bit more room, which is what we want here. You can also, if there are properties showing that you don't want to be showing, you can click this little eyeball here and hide them so that only the properties you want to see are showing up here. Okay, so cool. Now we've got our tasks. Now we've got our notes. Now what we want to do, just like we did on the other one, is we want to filter it so that we can only see the tasks that are associated with this project or the notes that are associated with this project. So you're going to go filter, you're going to go project, and then you're going to click, again, the name of this template, so new project. So now it's only going to show the tasks that are associated with this project, and you want to do the same thing over in your notes database. So project, new project, and there we go. So now it is set up. So anytime you apply this template, though, you'll only see the notes and tasks that are associated with this project. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to build some stuff. So at least you have a foundation for getting started. But these are all kind of ops. These are all the ops side of things. Let's actually start to build a finance tracker and a CRM. And then what was the last thing I wanted to build? Oh, yeah, finance tracker, a CRM, and then a content planner. Now, this is what is really, really cool about Notion. And frankly, about a lot of productivity apps is they have templates that you can install. You can build something for yourself. You can download somebody else's template, which everything you see for mine, everything you see here is downloadable in my Notion Ultimate Digital Planner. There are a couple things I have not added into that Notion Digital Planner yet, like the day planners, and like this insights dashboard down here. But you can download templates that have everything you need in them. You don't have to build from scratch. But the beauty of Notion is that you can build from scratch and you can build it exactly to be what your business needs are and to exactly how your brain works. But let's go ahead and let's build a finance tracker. And here in these sections, I'm going to utilize templates. So we're still going to do /page. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click into here and we're going to click right here where it says templates. And this is where we can explore all of the different templates that are available inside of Notion. So let's say you want something that is finance. Okay, it doesn't apparently have that. Maybe go over to, see how we're under work right now? Maybe go over to personal and see if they have a finance tracker. It looks like they do. They have this guy's finance tracker right here. So where you can put in income, expenses, amount, this is perfect. This is kind of exactly what we want and what we need. So let's go ahead and let's go get template. And what it's going to do is it's going to apply this template to our Notion database. And you can see it already has entries in here and it's set up so that when you add all of this stuff in for your income, it's calculating your total income, it's calculating your total expenses, and it's doing it by month, and it's calculating your net overall. So that's the beauty of a template, is that we can see, we can get what we need without necessarily having to build it ourselves. So let's say this is our starting point for our finance tracker for our business. Beautiful. And sometimes the free ones are the best. I know sometimes you're going to be like, oh, but it doesn't work exactly how I want it to. Let that build that over time. Like with Notion, you kind of want to give yourself the patience to figure it out and to slowly but surely build the systems that you need. This HQ, I've been using Notion for like 3 years now. This is something I built over the course of 3 years and that I'm slowly refining and adding things to. But let's say this is our finance tracker here. And then let's go ahead and let's build a, what did I say I wanted? I want a CRM and I want content for social media. So let's do the same thing, /page. And then we're going to go over here and click templates. And so there you're likely to find a CRM under work. There's a couple different ones actually. So we've got this CRM tracker. This is actually very similar to the one I have. We've got this sales CRM. I've actually used this one in the past. And the thing that I didn't love about this tracker is it felt too complicated for what I was looking for. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm realizing this one actually looks almost a little bit too simple, but sometimes simple is not a bad place to start. So let's actually use this one. Let's apply this CRM. So this is going to be our CRM here. We can delete all of this information down at the bottom. Unless you want to keep it, unless you want that to be there. So that now you have a CRM, and you can also add in tiers to your CRM of like, if you want warm leads, cold leads, etc., you can add in tiers into here. But now this is a CRM, and you can it has a place for important. You can use important to keep track of maybe the leads that you're currently working on converting, or the leads that you have converted, or whatever. I usually keep all of my current clients. I use my CRM for both the prospects and the leads that I'm currently kind of working on, and the people I'm working with. So I use this to keep track of current active clients as well. And I just use the one property to sort those. My database is very, very similar to this one. So now we've got our CRM. And now let's go ahead and let's create one more page, which is going to be our content tracker. And what I can show you how to do from here is how to set up automations for these content trackers. So same thing, we're going to go to our templates. Let's do basic content calendar. Let's see what this one looks like. All right, so we've got this idea, in progress, in review, published. We got my assignee, we've got launch calendar. Perfect. I feel like this is a great place to get started. And again, you can later build it so that it looks more like mine. So now we've got all of the databases we need inside of here. And frankly, what you could then go ahead and do on your main page here is you can start to build out a dashboard that helps you keep things organized. I personally like to have my dashboards be full width, but let's say for your dashboard, what you want is just do something 2 column for now. You want like a little call out over here where you can keep track of all of the main databases that you're going to be using, something like that. So like main menu or something like that. I almost kind of, as I'm building Notion systems, think of them like what I would want my like ideal app to look like. So then maybe under your main menu, you have your content planner. So there's the content planner. Maybe you also want to be able to access your CRM. And maybe you also want to be able to access your projects or something like that. This one. Okay, so there we got a little main menu situation happening here. And then over here, you could pull in your tasks database. And I would usually recommend on this task database, on this view, at least on your homepage, you can set it up and we can filter it to only show the things that are happening this week. So we can filter so that the due date is relative to today this week. See, that was like literally, I didn't need to change anything. That was the default for it. And now you're beginning to build a system where you can see the stuff that you need and you can see the tasks that you're actively working on for that day. So we've got a very, very basic business system starting to come together here. But now what I want to go ahead and show you how to do is I want to go ahead and show you how to start constructing automations. And how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit deeper into my Zapier. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to actually build some automations that I have been meaning to build with you today. So let me go ahead and I'm going to stop this share. And I am going to pull up Zapier on my computer. Now, the part that we are missing, and I'm just going to say this from the get-go when it comes to systems, the part that we are not going to go over today is how to initially set up your Zapier. And what I mean by that is my Zapier right now is linked to a number of apps that I utilize in my business, some of which are my main apps, some of which are apps that I used in the past that I no longer use. Like I used to use Circle. I no longer use Circle. I could honestly probably delete this connection. I used to use CoSchedule. I no longer do. I used to use Flowdesk. I no longer do. The only things that are on here that I still use are I use Gmail. I use Google Calendar. But these, I actually don't use these Zaps anymore. Zaps is what they call the automations on Zapier. The only ones that I'm currently using are, let's actually just go to my active chats or active Zaps. I'm currently using Squarespace and Notion. I'm currently using StanStore. And this is actually the thing that I realized I am doing in a very stupid way. I currently have leads from my StanStore going to a Google Sheet. That's so dumb of me because that creates an extra step in my process. So actually what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to modify these links to, instead of going to the StanStore, I'm going to actually have them go into my CRM. Like, go figure. This is how I should have set it up in the first place. I also have Stripe to Notion. So this is how I'm bringing things into my finance tracker. And I have uploading Zoom recordings to Google Drive. See, you can kind of see there are still, even though Squarespace and Notion run like 90% of my business, I still have these kind of peripheral applications that I am still using. Now, before we go into this, I want to show you what a StanStore is. So a StanStore, and I actually can go to my Instagram account to really show you what this is. So we all have like a link in bio when it comes to our like social media accounts. My link in bio for Instagram is a StanStore, and this is what my StanStore looks like. You can check out the Burnout-Proof business program. You can take the quiz, but I also have like offers embedded right in here. The cool thing about a StanStore is that they don't have to go to an external application to buy these things, to book a Notion Systems Autumn, to apply for one-on-one coaching. They just can do it right in here. But where I messed up, I realized, is I had leads when I used to have a lead thing in here. I recently took it out because my Burnout-Proof business program has launched now. But I used to have a lead tracker in here, and I actually realized what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in. And what I'm going to do is I am going to have it go directly to my CRM. And this is how we're going to do that. So let's go back to Zapier. And I have these 2 Zaps. These are automations that I have set up to send my names and emails of StanStore customers and leads. I'm currently sending them to a Google Sheet. So this is what we're going to go ahead and do. We're just going to go in and we're going to edit this. So I'm going to go view an editor. And instead of having it go to the StanStore, this is what I'm going to change. So I've currently got StanStore to Google Sheet. We're going to go StanStore to Notion CRM. I'm going to just delete all of this crap because this has way too long of a name. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I want everything about the Stan store to stay the same. But what I want to do is I want to, instead of sending this to a Google Sheet, which is another thing I have to check, I want to send this to Notion. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, all the way to the far left of this page. And instead of sheet row in Google Sheet, I am going to create a new entry in my sales CRM. If you did this from the beginning, you wouldn't need to do this part. In fact, maybe I should show you guys from the beginning. Let's actually just do that. I'm going to turn off this and I'm going to show you guys how to set this up from the beginning. So let's go all the way back to the beginning with Zapier. And I'm going to turn off both of these. Okay, so now we're going to go to this orange button here and we're going to click create. We're going to create a Zap. Okay. So now one of the updates that Zapier has made is you can literally tell it exactly what you want to do and it will help you do that. So what I want to do is I would like to automate Stan store lead generation to Notion CRM. Okay. Pilot is an experimental feature. What would you like to automate? So now it did that. So it wants me to, we're going to create a database item inside of Notion. That is what I want to do. But the part it didn't get is it didn't get my trigger correct. It has a new order in X cart. That's not what I want. So their AI is definitely imperfect. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to click into my trigger and I'm going to build it myself because I want my trigger to be my Stan store. So just search Stan store. Why are you not finding it? There, Stan. So it's not called Stan store, it's called Stan. And so then what I'm going to do is I am going to do app event. None of these are the app events I want. Hold on. I'm going to go back to my Zapier homepage and see what my trigger was for my old automations. Stan store. Let's look at this one. So this is the old application and it says new customer in Stan. Okay, and then I need to select the products. Okay, I couldn't remember 100% how this worked. Okay, so I want to choose new customer. I want to click continue. My Stan store is already linked, so that's the part I'm skipping over today. Then it's showing the correct account, my Coach Ellen Stan. And then what I want to do is I want to choose my product here. And my products, how I had it set up last time is my products were get my ultimate Notion digital planner now and a Burnout-Proof your life and business. So let's do get my, and you can add as many products as you want here. Beautiful. Okay, cool. So then once you select the things that are the products that you want to actually monitor leads for, then going to test your trigger. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to look for people who've already done this. If nobody's done it, what it's going to go ahead and do is it's usually going to create like a kind of like a dummy account for you. So test trigger will find a recent customer. So then you just say skip test if it doesn't find a recent customer and it'll just pull in dummy data. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go over to, oopsies. Okay, so then continue. And you can kind of see I actually shouldn't have continued so quickly. It just pulled in dummy data. And this is a great thing to do to test that your automation is actually going to work correctly. So now we're going to jump down to Notion. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my Notion account that I want this to be associated with. All of those are the same account. One thing I will say that is irritating about Zapier is it kind of creates a new account every time you kind of refresh your connection to your application. I don't love that, but whatever. So then what you want to do is you want to pull in the correct database for that you want your Zap to add this information to. So let me actually see, because it's not finding the database I want. So sometimes you have to go into your Notion. Let me see. I'm going to kind of do this off screen in case it's going to show personal material. I'm going to go into my clients and CRM, and I just need to make sure that my CRM is associated with Zapier and that Zapier has access to it. So let me go ahead and, okay, no, it doesn't. But Zapier is linked to my Notion database. So I just have to give Zapier access. Okay. Cool. So let's refresh my results. Cool. So now my clients and my CRM is there. And now this is where you just want to tell Zapier where you want the information to go. So for example, name. When I have a new customer's name here, I want to put that into the name. So this is the name of the property in my Notion database. This is the property or the information that it's pulling from Stan. So I want name to be their full name. I don't need the headshot to be anything. I don't need the location to be anything. I don't need, so service, I do want to indicate what the service is. And for this one, we probably want to, so actually what I should probably do is I should probably create two separate zaps for this, because I have it pulling two different types of customers for this. But for the sake of what we're doing right now, let's say they're a one-on-one coaching. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Their status is going to be a warm lead, perhaps, because they are somebody who has already said, hey, I'm interested. Package type, we're going to go ahead and skip. Company, we're going to go ahead and skip. All of this, we're going to go ahead and skip. But what we are going to do is we're going to pull the email from the Stan store. We're going to do our where found is going to be on Instagram because that's where my Stan store is. Include time with date fields. I usually set this to false because I found that it causes more problems than not when I don't. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I wanted to see if I had the ability to say like what they applied through. Oh, I have phone number here. So let's also add that. Let's add our phone. I forgot I pulled the phone number. Okay. And then dated May 15th, ID, revenue. Yeah. So it doesn't look like it tells me what they applied through. So that's fine. So we're going to leave the content and blank. And then we want our content format to be plain text. Don't do markdown. It causes a lot of issues, especially with Notion. So then you're going to do continue. And we are going to now test this step. And what the test is we are looking inside of our Notion CRM to see if when we click test step, it actually brought this person in. So let's see. And I will go ahead and share this if it does in fact bring the person in. Yeah, brought this person in. Okay, so let me switch over to my Notion share. So now we can see that this, random example person that they brought in is now added to my CRM. And now one thing I haven't showed you yet because I've been trying to keep my CRM private is I have multiple different templates for my CRM. So one of the templates is if it's a prospective one-on-one client, this is kind of the onboarding process I go through. If it's just a prospective client in general, maybe for a group program or a VIP day, this is the onboarding process I go through. If it's a prospective Notion client, this is the onboarding process I go through. And if it's a speaking customer, this is the process that I go through. So I have different templates depending upon the different types of customers. So whoever this person is, I can just apply this and that template automatically gets applied. So that's really, really cool. I do also want to show you my onboarding new client automation that I have set up inside of Notion because I'm super proud of this. When I am ready to onboard a new client, what I will do is I will click this button here. And this is an automation I have set up inside of Notion. This is actually what kind of the back end of it looks like. It looks super ugly, but I promise it's actually pretty intuitive to set up. But what I have happening here is once I click onboard new client, it asks me if I'm sure that I want to onboard this new client. If I am, I click continue. And what it does is it automatically generates a whole bunch of to-dos for me to do. So this is my kind of process that I go through to onboard every single one of my clients. And then what it also does is it generates a client portal for them. And I also have that templatized as well. I have a templated client portal for all of my coaching clients. So it's taken a little bit to populate the portal, but once it does, so that is another part of my process that I have automated is the actual like onboarding of clients and I've templatized kind of my framework for what I do when I onboard those clients. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this because this is a fake client. I don't actually need this. This is what my client portal looks like just for the sake of kind of you seeing it. I had a much more complicated client portal before, but I realized I really, really didn't want that client portal. And one thing I actually do want to show you is see this resources link right now, which I'm actually going to drag down to here. Actually, no, I'm not because that's offboarding. This resources guy right here actually links them straight to a page that is a specific page created for them that sends them to my client resource library that I showed you before. So you can start to see how all of the systems come together when I show you an example client. So that's kind of how this process works. Let me show you some of my other automations that I want to set up. So the other automation that I wanted to set up, let's go ahead and go back over to Zapier. Since this automation worked, what we want to go ahead and do right now is we want to say publish. But before I do, I'm going to name it. So I'm going to name it new Stan lead to sales CRM. Notion. I usually put what the thing is that I'm, triggering an automation between into the name just so it's obvious for me. And so then I'm going to put publish. And now this automation is live. So anytime this happens from my stand store, it will get sent to my CRM. Okay. I also wanted to go ahead and show you. I have these written down. I'm just checking. I wanted to go ahead and show you how to do a Squarespace website form and how to set up an automation from a Squarespace website form. Since we're getting kind of long in this, I want to just show you some of the existing ones that I have in place. So let me go ahead and on this page, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up my Squarespace backend. So this is the backend of my Squarespace website. It's going to load in just a second. Let me close some of these tabs. And one thing that I personally have found to be very, very helpful when it comes to my onboarding process for one-on-one clients is I don't gatekeep anything when it comes to prices, but what I do is I make it so that you can't just outright sign up with me as a coaching client. I want to meet you first. I want to make sure we have rapport because it's not even just, a client selecting me. It's about me feeling like it's going to be a good relationship with that client and me being excited to work with that client. And part of how I create that is by doing an onboarding form. So for my one-on-one coaching, here's my kind of coaching page here. But what I have at the bottom is I have an apply to work with me button. And when they click on that, it sends them to this coaching application form. And this coaching application form, they go through, they answer these questions. But the cool thing about this is if I go into the back end and I go to where it says storage in Squarespace, I have this getting sent straight to my email. But that is not the only thing I have set up with this automation here. So it goes straight to my email. What it also does, let's go ahead and go back to Zapier. As you see this guy right here, adding leads to CRM from coaching application. What this automation does is not only do I receive this email, this automation is set up to when somebody submits this form, and I will admit this is the one caveat I run into with Squarespace, is Squarespace, it's kind of like Apple in the sense that Squarespace does not play well with others. Squarespace really tries to be a self-contained website. So the only automations I can set up from Squarespace is when somebody submits a form. As it stands right now, I really hope they change this because that definitely creates some limitations with Squarespace in terms of automating. But how this is set up is it's set up to create a new item in a Notion database when a Squarespace form is submitted. So I have new form submission. I selected this coaching application form, which in Squarespace you can give your forms names. So coaching application form. I selected the coaching application form. And then when somebody submits their coaching application form, it creates a database item in Notion. And this is the information that it pulls. It pulls the name of their form. It pulls that they are there for one-on-one coaching. And it pulls in a number of pieces of content that I have added as plain text to the person's CRM database entry. So it pulls in like a lot of the information that they gave me straight into their CRM so that I can see it. And I don't have to necessarily go to the email. I probably could have set this up so that I didn't get an email. But I like to kind of be informed in both places. So I see those new clients come in. I have the same thing set up for my speaking application form. So let's actually exit out of this. If we go to my speaking page, I have something very, very similar with speaking. I have a speaking application because I want to make sure we're aligned on price, that I'm available. So I have an application, which is the exact same thing. It is a form inside of Squarespace, and I have it, the name speaking application form, I have it so that it's set up to send me an email. And I have a automation in here to add the leads from my speaking application to my CRM in the exact same way I have it for my coaching. So this is another big thing that I have. And then the last thing I have down here, which I've mentioned, I have my finances. This only works for my income coming in. I have to do expenses separately from this. But what this is every single time I get a payment, every single time somebody pays me through my website, which all of those transactions go then through Stripe, those transactions then appear in my finance tracker. That's what these guys are. The last thing I want to go ahead and show you for automations and systems is we've created our kind of example content calendar over here. Highly, highly, highly recommend when you are creating a content calendar, keep a running list of content ideas. I think I showed you guys this later or earlier this week, and I'm just going to reiterate it right now. These are all of the content ideas in my business. And honestly, what you're seeing right here is not even all of them because there's still load more buttons down here. So I have a shit ton of content ideas in my business because every time I think of something, I just dump it in here, whether it's an idea that I'm going to use soon or not. I just put it in here so that I have a lot of ideas to pull from. And then we can create our content calendar. We can do all of the things to make sure that we are consistent with that in our business. But perhaps the greatest thing I have ever used in terms of automating content creation, and since I want to give us business system ideas today, I wanted to show you this, is Meet Edgar. Meet Edgar is a really, really, really cool social media scheduling tool because it doesn't just like auto post on websites, it actually repurposes your content. So how I have set my Meet Edgar up, you can kind of see it right here, is I have, some general times throughout the week when my content is being shared on these various different social media platforms. And I have, where can I see let's go to my settings. So in my settings, we can see my categories, but we can also see my social media accounts. So this is connected to Facebook, it's connected to Instagram, it's connected to Twitter, connected to my Google profile, and it's connected to LinkedIn. So it's connected to all of these places. But one of the other cool things that it does, let's go into settings, is it automatically imports content from various different locations. So the connections that I have set up right now is I have my RSS feed from my podcast. So anytime I create a new podcast, it gets added, all of that new content gets added to my blogs, podcasts, and video content category. And then it auto posts whenever I have that in my schedule, which actually I should probably add more times into my schedule. Let's do that actually. It's just Instagram. Boom. Let's do that for all these guys. So now I have 2 more places in my schedule where my podcasts, video content, etc., are being shared. So that's kind of what that is. I also have it pulling in and importing content from my blog. So my blog's RSS feed is right here. I also have it doing it for YouTube. So it's pulling in stuff from YouTube. I'm actually realizing I have my podcast in here twice. Let's delete this. And then I also have it set up with Pinterest. So it will pull stuff in from Pinterest as well. Cool. So that is kind of another tool that can be very, very easy. And it just takes the having to be plugged into social media constantly off of your plate. I do think it's still important to be involved in your social media accounts, but it sometimes helps to have an active social media presence without you having to have your hands into it. If you're interested in Meet Edgar, let me know. I have a affiliate link that I can share with you to give you a little bit of a discount. But this is kind of what I wanted to show you today. I wanted to show you what are the systems that we all need to create as entrepreneurs. How do we start building those systems in my preferred platform, which is Notion, and even giving you a little bit of an insight into Zapier, how Zapier works, and how we can use Zapier. So this is kind of my bonus systems day, a little bit of behind the scenes of my systems, how you can create your own systems. I will go ahead and put it's a very, very basic thing that I put together today for biz systems. And actually, what I actually might go ahead and do is instead of sharing the one that I created today, which is very bare bones, I'm going to share one I created in the past for a previous boot camp. If people are interested in getting started in Notion, I will share that with you in the subscriber hub. So definitely head on over there to the subscriber hub. I do want to remind you all that everything that I talked about yesterday, I want to remind you all that we are live this week with my Burnout-Proof Business Bootcamp that is still available for you all. There are still spots left. And like I said yesterday, everything that we have talked about this week, you really have 2 options at this point. Your options are either you can do this work alone, and you absolutely can. It took me 5 years to do this work alone. So do you have 5 years? Kind of up to you, or we can do this work together. And that is where the Burnout-Proof Business Program comes into play. So I did launch the Burnout-Proof Business Program yesterday. I would love to see you inside of this. And my promise with this program is it's the only burnout management course out there specifically designed for coaches, service providers, solopreneurs that'll help show you exactly how to create sustainable success in your current or future business. You don't have a business to benefit from this program, but it's going to do it in an evidence-based and efficient way to help you get back your time, your energy, and your sanity. That is the promise of this program. And in this program, what you're going to experience is accountability-led, step-by-step on-demand training on the sustainable success framework that I've been talking about all week, specifically tailored for small business owners. We're going to have weekly live coaching. You're going to have a private coaching community. And during this time together, we are going to be going through my 8-week curriculum, which I'm not going to reread this slide, but it dives into all of the aspects of sustainable success we've talked about, as well as things that are specific to business owners, sustainable offers, sustainable marketing, sustainable mindset. I'm really excited for all of these. Sustainable marketing in particular, though, I'm going to be bringing in guests. So the value of this course is $2,000 easily. But what I'm also going to be offering in this is not only the curriculum itself, you get that interactive live coaching, which is valued at $3,000. You get the resource library, which is valued at $1,000. So there's a total value of $6,000. And for this course, I'm only going to be charging $1,397. I want this to be a value because this is the first time I'm running this course, and you guys are going to be kind of co-creating it with me. I'm going to be giving you, I have a plan absolutely for what we're going to cover, but I also want to make sure I'm giving you what you need in this course. So pay in full is $1,397. You save almost $200 that way, or you could do 4 payments of $397. And again, that includes the Burnout-Proof Business Curriculum, the digestible videos, action steps, and companion worksheets, lifetime access to the program. And then you're also going to have weekly live coaching with me, my resource, my library, and a supportive community of fellow high achieving women. So scan this QR code if this is something that you are interested in, or if you are not a working on your phone human, because I'm not either, go to coachellen.com/BPB #pricing, and that will take you to where you can learn more and where you can sign up. We also do have some bonuses that are still available through this evening. These bonuses are going to close after 24 hours. So you get a 45-minute one-on-one onboarding and offboarding call with me to really set you up for success. That in and of itself is like a $1,000 value for sure. And then you also get access to kind of some of my foundational courses. If you need help with the lifestyle component as well as the business component, these are going to help you out. I've got my values course, my boundaries course, my burnout proof life course, and my suite of Notion templates. So you won't need to build any of the systems we talked about today. I can just give you those. So some things that we talked about previously, and I just want to reiterate them today. If you are any sort of not sure whether this is the right thing for you, here are some great questions to ask yourself. Are you happy with the amount of balance you have in your life right now? Are your systems helping to keep you organized, calm, and collected? Do you take care of yourself in a way that you are proud of? Do you believe you're making yourself a priority? Do you feel like you have a solid mindset in your business and your life? And do you feel like you're clear on your values and your vision for your life and your business and where you're going? You answered no to any of these questions, or even an I'm not sure to any of these questions. Definitely check out Burnout Proof Business. It's going to help you with all of this stuff. And especially if it's the system side, I'm a systems ninja. So I would love to help you with that. So again, all of the things we've talked about and those bonuses are available through tonight, Saturday evening. And then this program is going to close on Tuesday. There's only 10 spots available, and I would love to see you in one of them. So I'm going to quickly take a look at all of the streams we have going right now, see if there is any questions or anything like that. All right. I do probably have some via email and in the forum, but the forum takes a little bit to post. So with that, thank you all so much for watching today. I'm so excited for this program, and I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. I will. I'm going to take the rest of the day off, so I'm pumped for that. I'll talk to you all soon.